எதன் கண்ணே நிலையாகி இருந்திடும் உலகமெல்லாம் எதனின்று அனைத்துலகும் எழுமோ மற்றிவையாகும் எதன் பொருட்டாம் எதனாலில் வையமெல்லாம் எழுந்திடும் எல்லாம் எதுவேயாகும் அதுதானே உளபொருளாம் சத்தியமாம் அச்சொருவம் அகத்தில் வண்டி துயில் வானுக்கவ் வண்டி செலன் நிற்றலொடு வண்டி தனி உற்றிடு தன்மானுமே வண்டியாம் ஊனவுடல் உள்ளே உறங்கும் மெய்ஞானிக்கு ஆன தொழில் நிஷ்டை உறக்கும் வண்டி துயில் வாதுக்கவ் வண்டி செலன் நிற்றலொடு வண்டி தனியுற்றிடு தன்மானுமே வண்டியாம் ஊனவுடல் உள்ளே உறங்கும் மெய்ஞானிக்கும் ஆன தொழில் நிஷ்டை உறக்கும். Namo Ramana. We are going into the mid part of the Anubhava segment. 2 more verses and then the Anubhava segment is completed. But this verse is about Jagrat Sushupti, though the verse is primarily spun around a Drishtantam, an example. The heart of this verse is about Jagrat Sushupti, the Samadhi Sthiti. So more or less the entire week has been on the teachings on Samadhi by Bhagavan. Similarly, the next verse is on Turiya. Turiya and Turiyatitam. So we may be going into the Mandukya Upanishad with Bhagavan's grace, which has allowed us to come up to verse number 31. Vandi tuyil vanukkau vandi selan nitralodu vandi tani utridu tanu manume tan manume. So in those days where we had not yet invented the steam, most of the travel were by the animals that were domesticated, and in India, I suppose, in the monsoon, as the carts are pulled by the oxen or horses, mostly oxen, there would be tread marks on the road, muddy roads, which is called as rut. That is, all the driver has to do is to fix the cart wheels in the rut and allow the oxen to pull. Then he can go to sleep and it will bring him to his destination. Or we can consider that there is a driver and there is a passenger who is asleep in the car. Vandi tuyil vaanukkum, either way, that the driver himself is asleep or that there is a passenger who is asleep in the car. To such a one, the drishtantam, the example says that there can be three states of the character, which doesn't matter at all to the one who is sleeping inside the car. The three states taken up in the example are Vandi Selan, the movement of the car, neutral, the stilling of the oxen or the horses with the reins, and the cart coming to a standstill. Vandi Tani Utridum Tanumanuge. Then the state that there comes a rest stop and the oxen are unyoked from the cart and taken away for some Coca-Cola or refreshments or watering, and the vehicle is separated. Vandi Tani Utridum Tanumanume. All the three states are taken like this. That is, the cart moving and the cart being reined in and standing still, then the oxen or horses being unyoked and the vehicle being separated. Interestingly, the reference to the jnani is not about waking dream and deep sleep, but is slightly different and quite important, which Lakshman Sharma ji, he clarifies for us in his commentary. Vandiyam Unamudal Ulle, inside the cart called the body, Unamudal, that body which is perishable. Inside that, the jnani, Jnani, the one who knows the truth of Jagrat Sushupti, the one who is aware of the Samadhi state and who is merely sleeping inside the body, for him, the three states that are compared akin to the going of the car, the reining in and standing still, the oxen being unyoked and the vehicle being freed, the three states are Todil, Nishtai, Urakkam. Todil is the activities of the world. So, to the Jnani, to the one who is sleeping inside the body or who is wakefully asleep inside the body. Wakefully, consciously, Nischala, inside the body, for him, the three states of Todil, Nishtai, Urakkam are the same. Todil is the activities of the world, Nishtai is the Samadhi Sthiti, and Urakkam is deep sleep, which is compared to the oxen being unyoked. Now, this is a drishtantam which would come up frequently in our discussions in satsang and not very easily understood most often. But Lakshman Sharma ji, in his kindness, gives the clue and the clarification and makes it simple. He says, hold the body and the car to be the same. The body, Unavudal, is the car. Then, the oxen or the horses are the eyes, ears, nose, and Kanakaman says you can take the 5 Jnanendriyas and the 5 Karmendriyas. So, and one can also take the mind behind that. That is the oxen. Now, that is the oxen that is driving the Unavudal. So, what is the oxen? The oxen is the senses You can take it as sample of eye and ears as Lakshman Sharma ji does, or you can go for the exhaustive method of taking all the 10, 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas as Kanakamal does. Now, once you have this in clarity, that is, the cart is the body and the senses and the mind behind it are the oxen, then the activities become clear. The activities are where the senses and the mind and the breath are engaged with the circumstances. For the one who is in the main urakam, the main jnani, which is he who is in Jagrat Sushupti, for him the activities of the senses does not matter. Just like the cart moving does not affect the sleeper, the activities of his own senses and body, the inverted commas, his own, doesn't affect him. Quite interestingly, his own nishtha, the one where he is in samadhi, the deep samadhi which has transcended time and place, that also doesn't matter. And the deep sleep where the oxen are unyoked, where the senses are now completely relieved, or not in contention at all, neither engaging in the world nor being held back in nishtha, but complete relaxation, and one is in urakam. That is the same as in the rest stop, in the motel. The cart is stopping in the motel and the oxen are taken for watering. There it is compared to the urakam of the main jnana. So if that drishtantam is clear, then that is all that is there in the verse, that the main jnani who is aware of the Jagrat Sushupti, the wakeful sleep or sleep engrossed wakefulness, or Ati Jagrat, beyond wakefulness, Ati Sushupti, beyond deep sleep. These names are all given to this state of the nishtha, the samadhi. But in what kind of samadhi? In natural samadhi, where there is complete Jagrat Sushupti. For him, the wakeful state where the indriyas are engaged, or the nishtha he has, or the state of deep sleep, which is nirvikalpa samadhi for him. For that, all the three do not affect the sahaja sthiti, the natural state of abiding in wakeful sleep in samadhi, which is sahaja nirvikalpa samadhi according to Bhagavan. So let us recapitulate the verse, which is simple enough, that just as for the one who is sleeping in a cart, the three states of the cart, of the cart moving, the cart being held still, or the oxen being unyoked and the cart being separated from the oxen, just as these three states do not matter at all to the one who is sleeping, they are all the same. Similarly, for the one who is wakefully asleep inside the body, who is in Jagrat Sushupti, Sahaja Jagrat Sushupti, naturally in Samadhi Sthiti, for such a one, he is not affected by the engagement of the indriyas in activities, or the holding back of indriya, prana, manas, buddhi and ahankara in nishtha, or the nirvikalpa samadhi of deep sleep. There is no seeking of any of these. There is a natural restfulness, there is a natural parandama sthiti, which is beyond time and place, which remains unaffected by activity or seeking that which is beyond time and place, or the nirvikalpa samadhi of deep sleep. None of this is sought by the sahaja sthiti jnani. That is the verse. Now we go into the samadhi sthiti and first try to demystify it. It's one of the mystical concepts which put the sadhaka off. It need not be so. Once you practice Atma Vicharan, the mystery behind it or the difficulty behind it is resolved by Atma Vichara sadhana. Now, to start off in a very simple way, that samadhi is that samadhi, if you take samadhi, is equanimity. Is that the buddhi or the vijnanamaya kosha and the ego behind it are in a state of equanimity for all the challenges brought by the indriyas, the prana, the manas, and of course the buddhi itself. The buddhi's tranquility can be disturbed by buddhi itself much better than any of the indriyas can. So, the equanimity, and it is not so difficult to understand the equanimity that is required in spiritual sadhana. We can go into that a little bit before going into the types of samadhi that Bhagavan handles in talk number 391. Those who are interested can go through that. But to put it simply, in the year 2001, and this is only an example, and this sthiti will be there for all of us every day. So in 2001, one of my students who had kept in touch with me, who had got into one of the primary public sector undertakings, he used to keep in touch with me. We used to meet on Tuesdays. That was the day when he used to have his meeting with his peers and top officials in a general body. So there would be review of his work, and every week he has to give a report. The report used to be on the efficiency of two main parameters, which he was falling much short of the rest of the 25 co-department heads. And he obviously knew that the co-department heads were just giving data just like that. And after a few weeks he knew that, but he continued to be bombarded by the boss. And he used to come, and we had a park here called Up-Down Park, so we would walk and he would be huffing and puffing, and so would I be, for different reasons. He for his mental reasons, me for the physical reasons. And he'll be discussing it, and he'll be asking, what am I to do? If I also give the same reports, then I am off the hook, I am free. But I myself, what had happened was, up to 95 even, having got into trouble somewhere in 93, even up to 95, there was not any serious attempt to even hold on to the speaking of truth and all that. That's when I met V.K. Kumar and started practicing just speaking truth and regulating the activity by ethics. It was a very difficult journey for me, but that was there, and all the training that I had taken to come to, I had by then come to meditation, I held, and I told him, see, that I have come up to where I am only by holding truth. Now, there is a cost to be paid, but we will have to have equanimity in the face of the cost and then make the right choice. Now, he actually had to carry it out in the sensory world. I had to do it in the mental world. Now, there came a point in 3-4 weeks down the road that he could lose his job, that the position had worsened to such an extent and the bombardments had gone to such an extent that he felt he was on the verge of losing his job. So in the mind, I was losing my job. So we had to take that situation, look at it with equanimity, be ready for it, bring ourselves to calmness, then make the right choice. Despite this, we'll have to tell the truth. And he held on, and in 6 months, the boss realized that there was something wrong, called for an investigation, and took the other 25 people to task. No, that is not the important thing. The important thing is that when faced with such choices, and this comes every day for us, where difficult choices have to be made, where it appears highly inequitable. Like when those who are telling lies and those who are telling taking the easy route, they seem to be getting the sunshine, and those who have to take the difficult path of telling the truth seem to have the iniquity of facing all these hurdles. But that is where the samadhi comes, the equanimity comes, the dharma, the simple practice of dharma, not so simple, the simple practice of dharma and bhakti, of making right choices, already necessitates that for a fleeting moment at least, we come to samadhi. We face the possible result, possible loss with equanimity. Okay, what is the worst thing that can happen? If I tell the truth to my better half, she may decide to go away from me. Now, we have to face that. We have to face that. Okay, that is the worst thing. But despite that, I should come up and tell the truth. Now, therefore, that is the samadhi sthiti. That where the worst possible situation is beheld, there is an acceptance, there is an equanimity towards that. Then, despite that, you do whatever working you have to do, you do that. Then, you come and make the right choice. What I am trying to tell through this practical example, which I have undergone many iterations, and then we are able to turn inward. The turning inward requires all that journeying, the tapasa. Whether we see the other person doing it in this journey, in this janma or not, then the necessity journeys would have been made to turn inward, to plug all the loopholes of outward challenges. So when outward challenges come like this, one should have the samadhi sthiti, the equanimity in the face of actual loss. Whatever you have had in hand might be lost. This is said that to gain equanimity, which is the most precious jewel, one should be willing to give up all the things that one has, which are worthless tinsel compared to equanimity, compared to that state which accepts everything, which is beyond everything. Now that is the samadhi which all of us have practiced, which all of us have had to come across every day. We have had to make choices of dharma. We know this is right, but to hold the right, the consequences have to be held, and one has to, whatever ups and downs one does, or they will check what God does, let him do, and then okay, this is what is the right thing, let me do. So either by reason or by surrender to the Almighty, one comes to equanimity. Again, that one issue, then one has the choice that one can make as the right choice. Now, that being what it is, that I am suggesting that this is not as mystical as it appears. It is day-to-day living, and unless this is done in the sensory area, in the area of challenge, there is no way one is going to have that. Vandi tuyil vaangukau, vandi selal nitralodu, vandi thani uttidum, tanumanume, Unaudal urangum meinyaniki. That urangum meinyani, how he has come there, all the sensory challenges, as Kanakaman says, all the 10 sensory challenges, gone. To go, these sadhanas of the relative samadhi, relative equanimity against the consequences, one would have definitely practiced. Now come to the samadhi which the Vedanta and Bhagavan says. The samadhi here is holding on to the one reality. Bhagavan says, holding on to one reality in the face of any circumstances is the samadhi sthiti. Holding on to the one reality with effort. In the presence of differences, it is called as savikalpa samadhi. Vikalpa means differences. Differences means if there is a difference between having the job and not having the job, having the better half by telling a lie or losing her by telling the truth. There is no difference between the two. Then there is nirvikalpa. But so far as difference is there, one has to have effort to come to equanimity. If there is a differentiation between having the better half and not having the better half, having the job and not having the job, if there is no difference, then it is nirvikalpa. There is no difference at all. But so far as one has these differences, it is savikalpa samadhi. The differences are seen, but with effort one withdraws from those differences and holds the one reality. So holding the reality as a common heading is samadhi. Holding the reality with effort despite the differences perceived, that is savikalpa samadhi. Then all the differences are lost. One is totally detached from all the differences. Then one has a laya, has a sinking in, like sleep but not as sleep, because this is with awareness. One sinks into pure consciousness where there are no differences. One merging into pure consciousness where all the differences are also merged, that is called as nirvikalpa samadhi. That is that merging or holding the truth where there is complete freedom of differences, that is nirvikalpa. Merging into ignorance, the merging of the one who is practicing and all the differences into ignorance, that is sleep. So that is the fourth point that Bhagavan gives, that merging into consciousness, merging of oneself and all the objects into consciousness is nirvikalpa samadhi, and merging into ignorance is the deep sleep which all of us experience. Bhagavan gives a difference between the two. In sleep, the head drops. In nirvikalpa samadhi, the head doesn't drop. The Ishvara Shakti keeps the head going. In savikalpa samadhi, in the nirvikalpa samadhi, whereas in sleep, the head drops off. That is the difference between. Then finally, all the activities going on, all the happenings going on, all the thoughts happening, but still the mind having been completely destroyed, one is undisturbed, just like the person sleeping in the cot. One is undisturbed by the activities, nishtha or sleep. That is sahaja nirvikalpa samadhi. That is the fifth point that Bhagavan gives. That is the teaching of Bhagavan. That is sahaja nirvikalpa samadhi. The vasanas, the mind is so utterly demolished, is utterly destroyed, that whatever happens in the activities of the senses in the world, whatever happens in nishtha, with difficulty you have gone beyond time and place and you have held that one reality, or even the complete merging into ignorance of deep sleep, all these three are of no impact to that sahaja samadhi. One has identified with that sat vastu, that which is I am that I am, remains unaffected by these three states. That according to Bhagavan is sahaja nirvikalpa samadhi. So we come from the practice of samadhi in our day-to-day living in a relative sense, that one has to have equanimity. Samatvam yoga uchyate. That equanimity is the highest point of yoga. Only that buddhi which is in equanimity and the ego behind it, which is having that equanimity in the intellect, can sink into the source according to yoga. So far as there is no equanimity in the intellect, the ego can not sink in, because that iniquitous presence of the buddhi will push the ego outward into the other koshas and into the world. So these are the 5 states given by Bhagavan. Holding the reality is samadhi. Holding the reality with differences is savikalpa samadhi. Holding or merging into the truth, in the light of consciousness, where all the objects are also merged, that is nirvikalpa samadhi. Then merging into ignorance with all the indriyas and the perception of the world which requires indriyas, merged into ignorance, that is deep sleep, where the head falls down. And the last one is all the proclivities of the manas being completely, utterly destroyed, that irrespective of what the senses are engaged with the sensory world, or one has gone to Nishtha, practicing Nishtha with a group of people, one is holding the Nishtha like that. One is holding this Purana, because this Purana is in one sense connecting everyone. This Purana is one sense is everyone. It is connecting everyone. It is everyone. So holding this Purana, the Nishtha Bhava is understood to be the common factor between all the sadhakas who are in joint samadhi within inverted commas. Now, one who practices that Nishtha, that is also not sought in Sahaja Samadhi. Oh, morning there was a 1 hour session where I was in Nishtha. No, I am not in Nishtha. That thought is also not there. The Nishtha is the same as the activities. It is the same as the Nirvikalpa of deep sleep. None of the 3 are sought after. One is in Sahaja Samadhi. The proclivities are so broken that the difference between Nishtha and activity is also gone. So that is what is explained by Bhagavan to one of the questioners in an interesting talk. I have sent all that. You can look in. This is a capital heading talk where the difference between Kevala Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadhi are discussed by Bhagavan. A simple long question by one of the sadhakas, one of the disciples of Bhagavan. The question goes somewhat like this. I am not reading because there seems to be a break. You can always go into the message and see. I am paraphrasing. The question is something like this, that Bhagavan, I am saying that the jnani is so deeply sunk into the truth, with the mind utterly destroyed, that irrespective of him engaging in activities, his sthiti is not disturbed, and you are the standing example for me. Whereas my friend is saying that no, the one who has gone into the samadhi state and experienced the purity of the reality there is definitely disturbed while coming into activity. Any engagement in talking or any engagement in senses is definitely felt as a disturbance by him. He seeks, for him the Nishtha is what is important, says my friend. Which of the two of us are right, says Bhagavan. And Bhagavan, as usual, says, both of you are right. Both of you are right. Not only does he say that to everyone, but he also proves from what angle they are right. That, yes, you are both right. You are talking of Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which I am teaching. That where the mind is so utterly destroyed that cooking, bookbinding, going up the hill, coming down the hill, talking to Sishyas, eating lungu, none of this disturbs the inner state. Sitting in mauna and radiating silence for hours together, all that is all the same. There is no difference between any of that. That is what I am teaching. That is Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Whereas your friend is also right. What is he right about? He is speaking about Kevala Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He is talking of that practice where with one great difficulty one goes to that thought-free state and one is there. But the vasanas are not yet completely destroyed. There are some residual impressions which at some point rise and disturb that person. And for such a person, the activities are a disturbance. He has to work out those vasanas also, so that the sahaja ultimately comes as taught in Viveka Chudamani. Viveka Chudamani and Shankara also teach the same sahaja nirvikalpa samadhi, sahaja state, says Bhagavan. So that is the difference between Kevala nirvikalpa and sahaja nirvikalpa samadhi of Bhagavan. Now we go on to see how this Bhagavan's teachings of Atma Vicharam brings us to Samadhi. Like without knowing, I did not know anything about Samadhi when I was starting Atma Vicharam in 2004, and there was no need. But this verse is there and it is the bridge to Vedanta, and those who are able to make out what it is really helpful to understand what this is. Now, before going on to self-inquiry, I have a small job to do about the 6 types of samadhis which Bhagavan teaches in Talk 391. There is a table. It may appear, what to say, it may appear difficult for somebody who is looking at it the first time, but it is actually the practice which we can easily understand, especially for those who are following self-inquiry. So, self-inquiry a little bit later, but let us see the 6 types of samadhi, which Bhagavan says in the talks to a sannyasi who asks. He says, he asks about the types of samadhi, he describes the types and says, you should try to be in any one of these 6 types so that eventually you come to sahaja. So that is the backdrop of the 6 types of samadhi. Let us look at it like the bahir and antar. The reference is with the body, the stula sharira, the outside and inside. So why I am saying clearly is that the outside and inside can be taken with reference to the ego also. Inside the ego, outside of the ego is everything. But the reference of bahir and antar is more commonly understood. That is the physical sensory body, inside the body and outside the body. So, bahir, savikalpa, drishyanavida samadhi. That means in bahir you have got savikalpa. Then let's take it like this. Let's take savikalpa and nirvikalpa. Savikalpa is with effort, as I said, with differences. Nirvikalpa is without differences. Keep the nirvikalpa for the moment. In savikalpa, let us take bahir and antar. Savikalpa is with differences, bahir and antar. Bahir, it can be drishyanavida or shabdanavida. Drishyanavida means we see many objects. You are walking in the park in the morning, or you are seeing a TV show. Now many objects are going there. Many objects are present in the park. But what we do, we, despite seeing many objects, we hold who is the seer. The one reality behind all this, that is bahir, savikalpa, drishyanavida samadhi. Drishyanavida means there are many objects. This is in Drishya Viveka, we have these 6 types. Then bahir, savikalpa, bahir, shabdanavida samadhi. Shabdanavida is very interesting. That Bhagavan by his grace, Guru by his grace, now coalesces the whole of the outside into one. It could be Bhagavan's, the wonderful form of Bhagavan, to which we are totally devoted. Just seeing that form is savikalpa, bahir, shabdanavida samadhi. The entire differences are all consumed. Our notable current. So that is just looking at Bhagavan, one is holding who is seeing. Just like Bhagavan does when he comes to Arunachala. He says, Ari Guru Amayamid Achalama Kande Kandavan Evanana Karutinunada. Immediately Bhagavan, as soon as he sees Arunachala, Arunachala stands for everything. But he doesn't go with that which is everything. He says, who is the seer of everything? The one reality behind everything. That statement of coalescing all the outside into one and then holding the one who is seen, that is Savikalpa. There is still difference. Savikalpa, Bahi, Shabda Anveda, Samadhi. Those are the first two types of Savikalpa. The next two types are very easy to detect. We have seen two types of Bahi, two types of Anta. Inside Savikalpa, Anta, Drishyamaveda means what we practice in self-inquiry is that. Savikalpa, Anta, Drishyamaveda, Samadhi is what we practice. Because as soon as a thought arises, let it be any number of thoughts, one doesn't count the number of thoughts, but as each thought arises, one asks, for whom is this thought? Is to me, who am I? We hold the reality, let the thought go. That is the way we are holding to the one reality. It is Savikalpa. Differences are there. Anta, it is internal. Drishyamaveda, there are many thoughts, but as each thought arises, one goes into. Now, that is Savikalpa, Anta, Drishyamaveda, Samadhi. Now, if all the thoughts are now collated into Ramana, just as the form outside was seen as the entire creation, the Nama can be seen as entire creation. There was this lady I had shared, a 70-year-old lady, a Rama Bhakte, who could see the entire creation as Rama. For her, there was only one thought, and that was happening automatically. And that thought had brought her to self-inquiry. She was asking, I was doing Ramanama Japa effortlessly. Now self-inquiry also I am able to do, but sometimes I wonder whether I have left the Ramanama. So that means she has practiced the Savikalpa. There is a difference between Rama and her. Anta, it is inside because it is happening in Dhyana. Shabdanavida, she has coalesced all the creation into Rama. Shabdanavida Samadhi, she has come to who am I. So that is Savikalpa, Anta, Shabdanavida Samadhi. So we have seen four types of Samadhis. Savikalpa, Bahi, Drishyanavida Samadhi, walk in the park. Savikalpa, Bahi, Shabdanavida Samadhi. See Bhagavan's wonderful image in the shrine and sit for who is seeing Arunachala Ramana. Then Savikalpa, Anta, Drishyanavida Samadhi. Many thoughts, that is self-inquiry. Savikalpa, Anta, Shabdanavida. Instead of many thoughts, we have combined all the thoughts by Dhyana Shakti. There is equanimity against all different kinds of thoughts. There is only one thought for us, that is Ramana. Who is holding the thought? Ramana. That is the holding of one reality, but still it is Savikalpa. The Nirvikalpa, Bahi and Nirvikalpa, Anta are the two more completing the six. Nirvikalpa, of course, the Bahi means eyes are open, ears are open, but the mind has gone into Laya. It has gone into wakeful sleep, but it cannot do any efforts, it cannot do sadhana, because only if you see differences you can do sadhana. So in Bahi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is complete loss of differences and merging into the light, but you cannot do sadhana, you cannot erase vasanas. Similarly, Anta Nirvikalpa Samadhi is your eyes are closed, ears are shut off from outside experiences, but the differences in all the thoughts and emotions are all zero. That also gives you, when both these are combined, there is no difference between Bahi and Anta. That is Kevala Nirvikalpa Samadhi. They say that. So, the six types of Samadhi, We have seen, Bhagavan says to the sannyasi, this sannyasi, they practice by these technical terms. We, those who have not taken up formal sannyasa, we may not practice by technical terms, but if you hold on to self-inquiry, all those practical terms, all those technical terms will be revealed as simple and very practical. Oh, this is what I am doing. When I am listening to some speech, but I am holding who is the speaker. When I am listening to Ramanasramam, at the end of the puja, Ramanasramam is being done, I am listening, but I am holding, according to Bhagavan's teachings, who is the listener. So, that is the example of Savikalpa, Bahi, Shabda Anuveda, Samadhi, Drishya Anuveda, Samadhi. If I see many things, a cricket match, I am seeing, but I am not carried away by the differences in that, but I am holding only the seer. That is the practice of the Savikalpa, Bahi, Drishya Anuveda, Samadhi. Holding the self is holding Samadhi. And one who is practicing self-inquiry, Ramesh sir used to say, whenever you are doing an activity which allows you to think other things, we have seen 2 weeks back that 50 to 60% of the time is spent by the average person in wasteful thoughts, in thoughts that are not at all necessary and automatically, inattentively going on. That is what Ramesh sir used to say, that when you are taking bath, when you are walking in the park, when you are doing some routine activity which frees your mind, the mind goes into some other area. That is the time to introduce self-inquiry, he would say. That is the time to practice Samadhi. So when we do Atma Vicharam, Bhagavan's method, as he tells F.H. Humphreys, to F.H. Humphreys, Bhagavan says, do not look at the phenomena which are multiple in number, which are practically infinite in number. Do not even look at the act of seeing the phenomena, but hold on to only the one who sees. This is the practice of Samadhi that Bhagavan gives him. See, in our norm, in my own state in 93 and up to some days coming to Atma Vicharam, I was saying that I was measuring myself in terms of results in the phenomena. Whether I can do this, I can do that, I can save this much, I can show myself as this person. So that is being carried away by the phenomena. Bhagavan says, drop that. Then I had spent a time between 2003 February and 2004, for about 1.5 years, I had spent a sadhana which was practicing the nature of my attention. That teacher had taught that can you see, can you look without like or dislike? That means that teacher was correcting the way in which I was looking at the objects. He had shifted my focus from the objects, but he was making me hold with what I am listening to him. I used to put his tape and keep listening for hours. He was only correcting the way of listening. Am I listening with like and dislike, or am I listening free? So practically his speech became unnecessary or useless. It was only my reactions to it I was looking and freeing it. Bhagavan says, don't even do that. Not even correcting the awareness with which you are looking at the objects. Whether it is unconditional love, whether it is awareness free of like, and don't go there, Bhagavan says. There also there are differences. But hold only the one who is responsible for the attention, one who is responsible for the various phenomena, the eye. Initially, it will appear very difficult, he says. It will appear almost impossible. But pursue, holding the eye, holding the samadhi right from beginning. Initially, it will appear difficult. But with practice, within 4 or 5 months, within 6 months, you will find that the phenomena are all right, are coming into place. He'll say, unconsciously, the phenomena all start falling into place. You find that there is an unconscious power with which you can deal with the phenomena. Always unconscious, because you are not directly wishing or not wishing about the phenomena at all. not even wishing or not wishing about the act of perceiving phenomena, but only the one who is holding the phenomena. Who am I? That way, Bhagavan takes us to Samadhi right from beginning, takes us to the one reality right from beginning, freeing us of all the conflicts that can unnecessarily be wasted time upon in the phenomena. All the dharma sadhana requires all those practices, whether such a person will be with me or not, whether I will have job or not. And one has to have the samadhi sthiti there to take one decision, whereas holding the eye directly brings all that and takes one to the source. When somebody asks, I was sidestepped in the promotion in my office, will self-inquiry help me in overcoming my turmoil? Bhagavan says, absolutely. Hold the self. If relative discrimination and holding equanimity can bring samadhana, Atma Vicharam will definitely bring samadhana, but that is not the intention. It is incidental and it is unconscious stilling of the mind against phenomena comes. That is the supreme nature of Bhagavan's teachings. He frees us from all the multiplicity of phenomena and all the different ways in which one can go into cause and effect, like and dislike, various dualities of the awareness with which one sees. Not even that, but only one thing. Who is the one? That is the beauty and depth combined paradoxically, but so beautifully with simplicity that Bhagavan gives. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us practice that Jagrat Sushupti, that with consciousness, one removes the objects so that the deep sleep is brought here. The consciousness of waking is retained, but thoughts were not present in sleep. So when thoughts arise, put that aside and still the eye by asking, for whom is this thought? Who am I? So, retaining the awareness of Jagrat, one brings the thought-free state of Sushupti. So, Atma Vicharam brings Jagrat Sushupti with effort. So, therefore, it brings Savikalpa Samadhi. Practicing that Savikalpa Samadhi again and again. It is Anta Drishyanamida Savikalpa Samadhi. Practicing that again and again, the vasanas are destroyed. One doesn't go into Kevala Nirvikalpa, where effort cannot be made. Whenever sleep comes, put it aside, get up and walk, again start. Vasanas are destroyed one by one. Till the fortress falls into our hands, all vasanas are destroyed. One is in Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that Bhagavan says. That is one day we will want. There, one is not affected by the happenings of the waking state. One does not even seek, what a thrilling I was going on when 20 of us were doing Atma Vicharam together. No. There is no seeking of what is happening when the senses are completely rest in deep sleep and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Not even that. All the three are not sought after. There is no difference between Samadhi and non-Samadhi states. That is Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadhi of Bhagavan. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us practice this Atma Vicharam in simple way. It will automatically reveal all the other ways in which the same thing is described as Nirvikalpa, Savikalpa and all that. And one understands that this stillness, this natural stillness, is what is called by all these different names. And Bhagavan has brought such a glorified state of Vedanta in such simple terms directly to us. And he is the Sara of Veda Vedanta. All the Vedas and Vedanta is extracted the Saram and given us to practice. Let us sit and practice for 10 minutes. Atma Vicharam of Bhagavan.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of that self, manifest as Ramana, we are delving into the core of Bhagavan's teachings, and so beautifully, as it is, Bhagavan's teachings are very simple. And Nandakumarji has made it even simpler for us by demystifying the Samadhi Sthiti. It's very important because very often we think it is something far away from us, something which we cannot attain. And it is of course said in the scriptures, one in so many, Samahatma, Sudurlabha. It is very, very difficult to have one person who can abide in the self. It is a very rare thing. So often the reason why one needs to demystify it, as he said, because one thinks it is not for me, it is something exotic. It may be possible for Bhagavan. I heard so many people say, that is Bhagavan, so he could abide in the self. Not for us, not in this Janma, not maybe for a few years. Like this, we tend to postpone it. So very, very beautifully and simply, he brought home to us that it is available to us without our probably having noticed it whenever we are getting into a state of equilibrium. And that is samadhi. And then also the types of samadhis were very simply brought home to us. And these are also experiences which we may have from time to time. Suddenly the mind becomes very calm. Suddenly everything will focus. Or sometimes even in an external object, we have seen that when there is a very strong attention to one object while doing work, people who have nishtha in their work, they completely get into the single object at that point of time. What is Bahir, Shabda, and with the Samadhi, as he called, outside, but everything is focused on that single object. We feel a lot of joy, but we don't connect it to that inner experience. And then, beyond all that, is the state of the Jivan Mukta, the Sahaja Nishtha, where even that does not matter. It took my mind to the often quoted, I often quote it, the instance from Tripura Rahasyam, which Bhagavan has himself quoted, where there is a king Hemachuda and his wife Hemaleka, who is the guru. The wife is the guru. She is guiding him, and with that guidance, he gets into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. First, he is in Savikalpa Samadhi. I mean, she guides him to have devotion to Shiva because he finds himself in lot of conflict. He can understand that there is no beauty in externalization of the mind. Intellectually, he understands, but emotionally, he is pulled due to the vasanas. So there is a lot of conflict. Then she suggests to do Saguna Dhyana, Ishvara Dhyana, which he does. And then his mind comes to a point of stillness, a point of calmness, after which he goes into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And when he is in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, she comes and wakes him up. And when she wakes him up, he says, "Why did you disturb my bliss? You, of all the people, should you come and disturb this Samadhi?" And then she says, "If your bliss can be disturbed by the mere movement of your eyelids, of what use is that bliss? All that happened was you had your eyes closed, now you have your eyes open. That's all happened. That is the only difference. The movement of your eyelids happened, and if that can disturb your bliss, then that is of no use. That bliss must not be disturbed by anything whatsoever." So that is the Sahaja state which Bhagavan promises to us And it has to be sahaja, because if it is our own, if it is natural, it has to be sahaja. It has to be available all the time, even here and now, to every one of us. That's what Bhagavan says. It is not special to anybody. It is not special to the Jivan Mukta. The point is that we are somehow, for some reason, we do not value it too much. We have got accustomed to valuing something which is external to us, to valuing something which is not the I, including, as we were doing Mananam the other day, some of us, and we found that in the Mananam, we found that the possessions, our possessions are of course not I. We all know that my clothes, my spectacles, my house, my pen, my whatever, however dear that possession is, it is not I. That we know. What about the body? We arrived through some understanding that body is also not I. It is one of my possessions. And so also, of course, my dear ones are, of course, mine. They are not I. They are mine. And what about all that which is in the mental field, all my thoughts? They are also mine. They are not I. So we found that everything is mine. But what do we value? We value all the mine. We do not value the I. We do not respect the I. We do not love the I. We do not think it to be of any worth. The moment we start understanding that the real worth is only in that, then automatically our attention will turn towards it. And when attention turns towards it, it will reveal itself, because it is always, its nature is to reveal itself. Its nature is to reveal itself. This is what Bhagavan says. So the whole process is only to understand the absolute meaninglessness of everything other than the self. And earlier also in one of the sharings, I had quoted Adi Shankara's verse, which I did not know the source of at that time, and later I found out. There is a composition of Adi Shankara called the Anatma Shri Nigarhanam. Anatma Shri Nigarhanam. That is to negate any wealth, Shri, which is Anatma. Other than the Atma, if anything else is Shri, then of what use is it? That is what? In that there is one verse where he says, Shambhor loke shasito va tatah kim. Even if I am ruling over the world of Shambhu, Lord Shiva, what of it if I am not in Sahaja Samadhi? This is what Adi Shankara asks. What does it mean? If I have the power to be a Godhead, if I am all powerful also, Shambhu's greatness is because he is in Sahaja Samadhi. Mahavishnu, Bhagavan says, if you and I can be in Sahaja Samadhi, will not Mahavishnu be in Sahaja Samadhi? He will be in Sahaja Samadhi. So that is the greatness. The greatness is that they are ever abiding in the self. Otherwise, without abiding in the self, if you were to rule over all the three worlds also, if you had the power to destroy everything also, of what use is it? If you have the power to create or sustain or destroy, which is what the mind keeps doing, of what use is it? This is what Adi Shankara says. So when Bhagavan's sweetness is that he does not ask us to renounce everything, because that's scary for us. If we have to renounce everything, we get scared. We don't know what is everything actually, but we think we know something called everything, and then we are afraid of dropping that everything. So what happens? So Bhagavan says, don't drop everything. Just drop one thought. Just drop one thought. Okay. Then one more thought came. Just drop one thought. That's all. Just keep dropping one thought, each and every thought as it arises through the inquiry. That's all you have to do. You don't worry whether there are a million thoughts, whether it is everything, whether it's not everything, what will happen at the end of it, what happened before it. You can't be worrying, no, because that would be a thought which you have to drop. So just drop thought as and when it arises. Then everything else is taken care of by him. That is how simple Bhagavan has made it. And then what he says is, when you drop even that one thought, what will happen is you will get a samadhi experience. It has to happen automatically, because thought rises and sets only from the self. There is no other source. So it has to happen automatically. But what happens for us is that we are not able to sustain it in that split second before we understand that we have experienced that samadhi. We are already into the next thought. Therefore, Bhagavan says, keep repeating this process until after some time the process, the thoughts will slow down. A little bit they will slow down. Then the experience, the peace. Initially, we may not call it samadhi. The peace which we experience during the inquiry, we will understand that peace will deepen. Because peace is the nature of the self. So it will deepen gradually. And after some time, the inquiry, as it becomes stronger, it will take us to a point which makes us realize, like the Vanditu Ilva, that nothing matters. Not even the coming and going of samadhi or anything, because everything which comes and goes pertains to the persona. Anything which comes and goes pertains to the persona. It is not the nature of the self. So it does not matter. What comes and goes does not matter. So many millions of things have come and gone. Actually, they don't matter to us at this moment. All the millions of thoughts, how many millions? As he said, 50% of every day, 60% of every day, we are spending on wasteful thoughts. So we don't even know what they are. And they have come and gone. Have we lost anything? We have not lost anything. So when that experience, that beautiful experience of the self, that upsurge would happen, then automatically all other things will get swallowed by it, by its glory, by its bounty. But that is what Bhagavan calls grace, which is ever waiting for all of us and is ever sure to take us there without any doubt. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ram.